Spider Pig. Spider Pig, Spider Pig, does whatever a Spider Pig does. Can he swing from a web? No, he can't. He's a pig. Look out, he is a Spider Pig. Spider Pig, Spider Pig, does whatever a Spider Pig does. Can he swing from a web?
Is this the kitchen?
No, it's a petting zoo. There's the goats. Pony ride. Huh, there's the dumbass.
Hi guys, and welcome to this week's video where we'll be taking a look at the awesome cartoon show Dexter's Laboratory. We'll be looking at what factors led to its rise and what factors led to its fall. Seen as the first big hit series on Cartoon Network, Dexter's Lab ran from 1995 to 2003, even having a feature-length film in 1999 titled Dexter's Ego Trip. The show was praised by both critics and audiences alike, and at the time became Cartoon Network's most successful show. Unfortunately, however, this wasn't set to last, as during the end of its run, the show began to show huge signs of decline in quality, and sadly was cancelled due to a fall in its ratings. But before we take a look at what went wrong for the show, let's first take a look at what went right for it, and what led to its beginning. Back in the 90s, Cartoon Network had its What a Cartoon series, which was an animated series produced by Hanna-Barbera Studios that would produce various cartoon shorts that would vary in style and animation. The point of the series was to give more creative power back to the artists and animators, and take control away from executive producers. This was how things were run during the golden age of animation in the 1930s to the 1950s. A time where animation budget was high and creative freedom was rife, which helped spawn some of the most memorable cartoon series of all time, such as the Looney Tunes, Tom and Jerry, Woody Woodpecker, Droopy, and many more. However, during the 60s and through to the 80s, cartoon shows had to work with a much smaller budget as they went from airing into theatres to domestic television. Not only was the budget slashed, but cartoons were now seen as more exclusive products to younger children, which meant they were now heavily regulated by censorship, offering to sacrifice creative writing in favour of more straight-laced and moral-driven shows. So when Cartoon Network brought in this What a Cartoon series, it was a gamble, taking a larger budget with more risky humour in the hope that it could replicate the success of the Golden Age. And for the most part, it was incredibly successful, producing a wide variety of unique and stylized animations that were praised by both audience and critics. And if any of these one-off shorts proved to be particularly popular, they could have a chance to develop into a full-blown series. Shows such as Johnny Bravo, Cow and Chicken, Courage the Cowardly Dog, The Powerpuff Girls, The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, and codenamed Kids Next Door. They all started as a pilot episode from the What a Cartoon series. But the show I want to focus on today is the show that was the first to get its own series, and that of course is Dexter's Laboratory. Dexter's Laboratory was created by Genndy Genndy Smith, and originally premiered its pilot episode on the What a Cartoon series in 1995, simply titled as Dexter's Laboratory. The episode revolved around a weirdly small gingerhead kid named Dexter, who was a self-proclaimed boy genius, and his older blonde-haired, weirdly lanky sister, Dee Dee, who is not a genius. In this episode, Dexter invents a remote control that can transform you into any animal. His older sister Dee Dee manages to get hold of the remote and chaos ensues. The episode was a big hit, and so the network gave approval to develop it into a full series. The first season of 13 episodes aired in 1996, and a second season of 39 episodes ran until 1998. Throughout seasons 1 and 2, the show retained creative storytelling, good humour, and a pleasing art style. Though the art style changed slightly over the 2 seasons, the overall look retained high quality and looked mostly the same. As the show progressed through its original series, the show would become more creative with its ideas. You'd never know what was going to happen in an episode next. One episode starts off relatively normal, as Dexter tries to grow a beard to become more manlier. But then the show somehow ends up with him trying to take down a drug gang.
Here you are, Monsieur Foie Gras.
I can assure you it is 100% pure.
Excellent. Gentlemen, we're about to make a lot of bread.
But instead of using guns and knives, they're using their beards as weapons. It's absolutely crazy, but also hilarious. Or the episode where Dee Dee is trying to tell Dexter a joke. Dexter doesn't want to hear it, so uses what he thinks is a silent potion to shut her up. Only to find that it's actually a monster potion, transforming her into a hideous beast. In order to combat her, Dexter also takes the potion himself, and by the end of the episode we've got a full-blown kaiju-style Godzilla monster fight going on. Finally, in 1999, a TV movie special titled Dexter's Laboratory Ego Trip premiered on Cartoon Network. It involved Dexter travelling through time, where he hopes to meet future incarnations of himself to see how great he becomes in the future. But he sees the future is not how he expected it to be, as his rival Mandark has taken over the world. So Dexter and his future incarnations work together to defeat the evil Mandark. The film was okay. I don't think it was quite to the high standard the television series set, but still felt satisfying to watch, and with the show's creator now leaving to start work on his new TV series, Samurai Jack, the movie seemed like a fitting way for the series to come to a close. Or so we thought. Due to the film's successful ratings and reruns of seasons 1 and 2 still drawing in high audience numbers, Cartoon Network decided that there was still market potential for Dexter's Laboratory, and so, in 2001, the series was revived. Only this time, it was being produced by Cartoon Network Studios under Chris Savino, and would not have any involvement from the show's original creator, Genndy Tartakovsky. And this is unfortunately where things started to go wrong. So the first thing you notice from the new series is the dramatic change in art style, particularly to the backgrounds. Under Hanna-Barbera Productions, the backgrounds were colourful and detailed. The Cartoon Network studio backgrounds, however, have swapped out the colourful palette and replaced them with this horrid brown and green aesthetic. Not only that, but the shading and detail has also been lost, making the backgrounds look extremely flat and minimal. I imagine part of this was due to a drop in budget, so the shading and details had to be skimmed over, but regardless of your budget, why change what was a perfectly fine colour scheme to this god-awful, pukey green and murky brown feel? Just look at the side-by-side comparison shots here to see the difference. It wasn't just the backgrounds that saw a change in style, but the characters themselves also got remodelled. Dexter is far more square looking, Dee Dee just looks constantly off model, the mum got a bit of a colour change, and the dad, I don't know what they were thinking with the dad. Everything about this is just awful. Also, Mandark now has this stupid duck face expression, which always bothered me. As well as a redesign, some of the characters also saw some major personality changes. Dexter comes across as far more of an unlikable jerk, taking the mick out of his friend Mordecai for using a potato to power an alarm clock.
And it works.
A potato? You hooked your clock up to a potato? That is the funniest thing I have ever heard. Excuse me, what time is it? I don't know. It's a potato.
And ridiculing Mandark when he first meets him for looking like a girl. Oh, I bet that joke's gonna age just perfectly fine. And yeah, whilst we're on this topic, Mandark probably received the biggest change of all. Apart from his sister, we never really saw Mandark's family in the original series. But in this new series, his sister is now gone, and instead we see his parents are actually a couple of hippies, which I guess they decided to do for contrasting comedy purpose? But if they're full-blown hippies, why would they be living in a suburban home? And apparently when Mandark was born, his parents decided to name him Susan, and dress him to look like a traditional little girl. It was only when Dexter decided to take the mick out of him did he decide to change his name to Mandark, which again contradicts the original series, as we do hear what Mandark's actual name is in the first episode he's introduced to us.
Class, say hello to Mr. Astronomonov. Please, sir, call me Mandark.
Also, in this series, Mandark went from being Dexter's rival in the original series to being a full-blown villain in the new series. In the original, Mandark would still try to save the world, he just wanted to be better at it than Dexter. In the new series, his lab now has this black demon look to it, and even Mandark's mech has been redesigned as some weird cyborg creature. And yes, I know in the film Mandark did turn evil, but that was only after the power started to corrupt his mind. He didn't start out evil from the beginning. Now with regards to the new series, I could potentially ignore all this. I could forgive the drop in art quality as budgets had to be met. I could get used to the new art style as it gives the show a fresh new look. And I could even accept the changes in character personality as it offers more exploration. I could forgive everything if the show was still entertaining like the original series. And you know what? It isn't. I'm sorry, but the writing for episodes in Season 3 and Season 4 really took a nosedive. At best, the episodes are passable, and at worst, they're some of the laziest pieces of writing I've ever seen in any show ever. And yeah, that includes Family Guy. Just to show you a couple of examples of this atrocious writing, there's an episode which focuses entirely on Mandark's laugh. Yeah, Mandark always had a distinct laugh. It was kind of his thing. But one episode takes this to the extreme where everything he does follows the same pattern of his laugh, such as showering, brushing his teeth, playing the piano, starting the car, and even pouring his cereal. Then there was that weird episode where Dexter's pet monkey and Mandark's duck fall in love, leading to some very awkward and uncomfortable scenes. Watching this, I am on the strong assumption that one of the writers was a furry. But believe it or not, there is an episode worse than both of these, and that episode is a third dad cartoon. I honestly can't believe this is a thing. The plot of the episode is Dexter's dad spending over 3 minutes preparing to take a golf shot, only for it to start raining, and so they have to pack up and go home. For over 3 minutes, we are stuck in a silent episode with nothing but bird chirping in the background, which is on a soundbite loop by the way, and the only thing happening on screen is Dexter's dad preparing for a golf shot. Exhilarating scenes of him include cutting the grass, selecting his club, and loosening up. I'm serious. To fill out the time even further, they even start repeating the same piece of animation again and again. All the whilst, might I add, nothing is going on in the background. Dexter and Dee Dee literally just stand there, completely still, with only the odd blink to show that they're actually alive. The amount of animation actually happening in this episode makes even the longest and cheapest cutaway gag in Family Guy look like an animated masterpiece. I can honestly not believe they turned what should be, at most, a 20-second joke into a 3.5 minute episode. Out of all the creative potential this show can have with sci-fi inventions, space battles, and even time travel, they decide to make episodes based on some guy's laugh, bestiality, and taking a golf swing. So in conclusion, Dexter's Laboratory went wrong for a number of reasons. A drop in budget, different art style, having the show's original creator leave, and a severe lack of creativity on the writing team. And so the show naturally saw a decline in quality, which led to reduced viewer ratings, and so in 2003, Season 4 came to an end, and Season 5 was never commissioned, thus ending the era that was Dexter's Laboratory.
It's the cops!
Where's the police cops?
This is the 13th episode of the 10th season of The Simpsons, titled Homer to the Max. It's about a fictional TV show airing in Springfield called Police Cops, a parody of Miami Vice that stars a heroic character named Homer Simpson. Our Homer Simpson loves it, because he shares the same name as this character and in turn receives a ton of attention. But then Police Cops rewrites their Homer, turning him into an inept imbecile. And the Homer Simpson we know hates the change, so much so that our Homer changes his name to
Max Power
to try to become someone else, and takes on a new identity to escape being associated with this fictional idiot. It plays like a critique on bad character development. It also, maybe accidentally, is a very meta look at what happened to Homer Simpson.
Relax. What is mind? No matter. What is matter? Never mind.
Homer has changed. Let's start with the design, as it's the simplest and least dramatic of the changes. This is how the Simpsons characters were originally imagined by Matt Groening, as silhouettes. He wanted the characters to be recognizable by shape only. He succeeded. Homer's original design is here. His features are sharper, he has constantly visible eyebrows and a sharper mouth. While cartoony, he carries the features of something recognizable to a human being. But almost immediately, Homer begins to change. Now, while I think the design change is for the better, it's also kind of foreshadowing for his less fortunate character shift. This image here is Homer 3 seasons into the show. His hair takes the M shape, which, by the way, is meant to be Matt Groening's initials at one time. His head and eyes become rounder and bigger, his belly gets larger, and his appearance in general becomes more cartoony and oafish. And as the show would progress, these cartoony features would only become more pronounced. But while his design changes may have been for the better, it's his personality where things take a weirder turn.
Oh, looks like young Simpson is going to kill himself.
No, maybe not. Maybe he's just taking his boulder for a walk.
This is Homer's Odyssey, a season 1 episode that marks one of the first times Homer loses his job. But things go differently than they would, say, now. There are consequences. After Homer becomes unemployed, his search for a job, while humorous, leads to less than desired results, and then suddenly, there's humanity in Homer. So much so that he tries to end his own life. Yes, it's dark, but it's meant to articulate Homer's natural human emotions. This original Homer is a very different man. He's inept, but he cares. He cares about his family, his intentions are almost always good, and he cares about his image. these things are important. Early Homer makes a lot of mistakes, but because he's rarely doing things to be mean-spirited or out of absurdity, we understand why Marge would stick around. He's dumb, but he shows flashes of intelligence. He isn't cartoonishly stupid, so we understand that he has enough self-awareness to care about what people think of him and try to be a member of society. And importantly, early seasons Homer has a heart, sometimes a big one. The show was more often focused on relatively happy endings and presenting Homer as a father that truly cared. His physical design, especially very early on, was a great, more human representation of this. Every once in a while, however rare, we the audience were okay with Homer thinking of himself as Max Power, as a hero, despite his characteristically mean treatment of Bart even early on. But there was minutia under all this that would slowly fall apart. For example, this is Homer reading.
Cosby's first law of intergenerational perversity. No matter what you tell your child to do, it will always do the opposite.
As you're about to see, this one scene is very important, far more important than it probably should be. So let me give you this.
Look, she's presenting. We thought this would take years to happen.
The Simpsons, and in turn Homer, was built around a deconstruction of the family sitcom that dominated the decade prior. It was built almost as a satire of that happy nuclear household. It was meant to be a semi-real depiction of American families that we didn't see on TV. But by the 6th season, most of the show's original primary creative team were preoccupied with other projects, and The Simpsons was falling into new hands. There's a much-cited Slate article by Chris Ellentrope that points to this moment as the pinnacle of that foundation falling apart. This is Homer being, well, I don't know that it needs any explaining. Let's say he's being taken advantage of by this panda. It's one of the most hated scenes in Simpsons history, because this became the norm. Homer slowly became an irredeemable idiot, and we can pinpoint where this really began. A lot of the humor written for Homer after the first 4 seasons became about one-upping his stupidity. This was fine for a while, but the writers realized quickly they'd have to top each moment of stupidity to keep it funny. A.O. Scott once said that Simpsons creator Matt Groening's strength was using animation to address reality. But around season 8, the Simpsons writing staff kind of ballooned, and season 9 saw the tenures of Mike Scully and Ian Maxtone Graham. And The Simpsons absorbed itself. It lost sight of that realism, however exaggerated it was, and Homer would quickly fall apart in the world of the new Simpsons, the world of the cartoon. Scully would executive produce seasons 9 through 12, and Maxtone Graham would write, partially during this tenure. It was these 3 seasons where we'd meet this guy.
Oh! Boy, I'm feeling this. Oh! Ooh, my head's gonna be sore in the morning. Oh!
Remember that scene with Homer reading? Well, to top Homer's stupidity, suddenly Homer was completely illiterate.
Gime? What's a gime?
And the decline was rapid from there. Homer would get dumber and dumber until he became a nearly functionless member of society, that illiteracy being a mark of a joke that changed who Homer was without much thought. He was always inept at his job, but now he was a caricature of himself. He no longer cared at all for how he was viewed by society, quickly becoming entirely self-obsessed. There also became no consequence for Homer's actions, and thus no emotional pull from Homer in any way, shape, or form. Originally, he was held responsible for things, and the episodes played out through Homer's reaction to those consequences. Suddenly, Homer could do whatever he wanted, get away with anything he wanted, and there was no emotional response or recognition of fault at all. But worst of all, in all of the stupidity and self-obsession, he lost the heart that made his behavior funny. He became a mal-intentioned villain. As Slate put it, these endings very quickly turned into these. He was no longer a funny, well-reasoned representation of the American dad. He was himself a joke, an animated oaf. It got so bad that Dan Castellaneta, Homer's voice actor, ended up rejecting parts of scripts where Homer's mean-spirited, brazen new behavior got out of control. So how did we get here?
453. I'm so very hot.
Well, Scully's 3-season run, 9 through 12, as producer, marked the most dramatic change in Homer, as the bloated writing staff lost an appreciation for what the show was. Writer Maxtone Graham would say in an interview that he had hardly watched The Simpsons before joining the staff. He'd then go on to mock Matt Groening's writing rules, point to episodes without Matt's name as great, and say of fans, "Go figure, that's why they're on the internets, and we're writing the show." At some point, probably around here, Groening's vision spiraled out of control. It was lost, as it was handed to people that didn't understand what the original intent was. And Homer suffered. He became the embodiment of Max Tone Graham's attitude, intentionally or not. He became spiteful, harsh. His existence spit in the face of who Homer was. There's irony in Homer's rounder, softer character design, because as Homer got easier on the eyes, he became harder to listen to and in turn root for. This mark of seasons 9 through 12 was the most dramatic and obvious shift in the character yet. And still, Homer's stupidity after Scully's 12th season would only continue to become exaggerated. He continued to lose any semblance of relatability, he continued to become less of a character and more of a punchline. He lost his personality. He'd be an oaf when it was funny and then a sensational talent at a new job when the joke called for it. He'd be mean when it seemed cool and then a victim when it wasn't. He became a blank slate of stupidity with no voice to call his own. As Sam Simon once said, as the show got bigger and its writing staff ballooned, The Simpsons became this homogenized version of itself. And Homer is the best microcosmic example of this homogenization of ideas.
Do not press the core destruct button. Press destruct button.
Scully and the team's creation of jerk-ass Homer, as fans have dubbed him, makes Scully's own episode, Homer to the Max, a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. Even Homer doesn't want to be the guy that they turned him into. Even Homer knows that that guy isn't the one that people love. But this isn't all two people's fault. They just represent the problem. It's collaborative drain on personality and the character, as much as it's improved and fluctuated in quality since, and he has had better moments, never really recovered. Because Scully and Graham were just symptoms of a bigger issue. Maybe this is just what happens when your character lives for 30 years, when it loses its heart. Much like SpongeBob, Matt Groening's original vision for Homer in The Simpsons was pure. It wasn't watered down, it was self-assured and confident in itself. But as the creators begin to hand their vision to others, that vision becomes diluted. The brushstrokes stop flowing in one direction, it becomes messy. This is Homer Simpson. And this is an attempt to recreate that guy. This is Max Power.
Yes, this is the original Homer Simpson.
I wish. That's a wrap on today's episode of Nerdstalgia. Guys, if you enjoyed this one, press the like button down below. And as always, if you haven't yet done so, press subscribe so you don't miss anything I put out on this channel, as well as the little bell next to the subscribe button. That's just the notification bell. I just make sure you're actually notified when I upload, so hit the little bell too. As always, on your screen are 2 more episodes of Nerdstalgia. You can click on either of those to see what else I put out recently, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
Hit back one more time, right? Cause y'all see Yokin. Y'all don't know what Yokin is? That's that other link that I be dropping. Cause I got an affiliate marketing with these guys too.
Nope, I've never uploaded this video before. It's the Mandela effect. The Bernstein Bears are actually the Berenstain Bears. The Bernie Sanders Bears. No, but this video was taken down due to some reason, I don't know, so I decided to make an updated version with more evidence this time, so here you go. Family Guy is a pretty polarizing show. It's loved by many, it's hated by many, which is usually the case for everything that's very popular. Like SpongeBob, or Drake, or Velskabum94. Family Guy gets a lot of criticism these days from fans and people on the internet, usually about the characters being too mean or there being too many cutaways. But before all this, Family Guy was a heavily criticized show by the animation industry itself. Countless big-name animators have come forward with complaints and digs at Family Guy. So here's the history of animators really disliking Family Guy. John Kay is the creator of the 90s Nickelodeon classic Ren and Stimpy. If you know anything about him, you know he has his own issues and is pretty, problematic and controversial himself. But regardless, he's a big name in the animation industry and a very opinionated guy, but not the biggest fan of Family Guy. In a 2004 Cartoon Brew interview, John Kay worried that the animation style of Family Guy is too simple and worried it would be a bad influence on the animators of the future. He said, if you're a kid wanting to be a cartoonist today and you're looking at Family Guy, you don't have to aim very high. You can draw Family Guy when you're 10 years old. and you don't have to get any better than that to become a professional cartoonist. It should be noted that he also criticized South Park's animation style as well. Speaking of South Park creators Matt Stone and Trey Parker said in a 2006 interview that it's frustrating seeing South Park always be compared to Family Guy. He even went as far as to say, "We hate Family Guy." South Park also released the 2-part episode Cartoon Wars, which portrayed Family Guy as a mindless show with no real plot and endless cutaways. Matt and Trey claim that after they released the episode, they received messages of gratitude and support from the crew of King of the Hill, saying the King of the Hill crew thanked them for finally ripping on Family Guy. But not just King of the Hill. Matt and Trey also said they received flowers from the crew of The Simpsons to thank them for making fun of Family Guy. Which brings us to The Simpsons. Family Guy was often criticized early on for being too similar to The Simpsons, with both shows being about a working-class family with a somewhat dim-witted drunk father and 3 children. I suppose you could argue the wives are pretty similar as well. And The Simpsons seem to agree. In episode Italian Bob, there's an officer looking through a book of wanted criminals, and he comes across a picture of Peter Griffin claiming he is wanted for plagiarism, implying obviously that Family Guy is a plagiarism of The Simpsons. Since this, The Simpsons and Family Guy have had a crossover special, and Seth MacFarlane claims to be good friends with The Simpsons creator Matt Groening, so it seems this beef was never super personal and is blown over. But it's clear that at least early on, the crew of The Simpsons agreed with the notion of Family Guy being a ripoff of their show. Further proof is Simpsons producer Al Jean flat out saying in a 2003 interview that Family Guy is, quote, a little too derivative of The Simpsons and should be, quote, more original. Water under the bridge now, I guess, but still water. So between Ren and Stimpy, South Park, King of the Hill, and The Simpsons, Family Guy has gotten its fair share of jabs from a lot of the animation industry, with the reasons given being them not liking the animation style, not liking the writing, and them feeling Family Guy was unoriginal and too close to The Simpsons. Personally, I love Family Guy and I don't overthink it, I just take it for what it is and laugh at it, but these opinions are all from people in the animation industry who have very valuable opinions and credible voices, so I guess I just gotta respectfully disagree. But what do you think? Do you like Family Guy? And do you think these criticisms were fair or warranted? Sound off in the comments, and be sure to like this video and subscribe to Toon Fridge for more cartoon content. Thanks for watching, guys. Hello, person of YouTube. My name is D, and I make videos about cartoons. I genuinely love making videos, and I genuinely love cartoons, so I put a lot of time and effort into making videos about cartoons. So I hope you enjoy. I hope you enjoy these videos as much as I enjoy waffles. And if you're not subscribed, it would mean the world to me if you subscribed and turned on those notifications. And if you are subscribed, thank you. I'm grateful for you. And I hope you drink a lot of water today. Thank you.
Still in there, he ain't happy.
What's that? Major Crane just terminated that bad man with extreme prejudice. And if he's still in there, he ain't happy.
You run on back to bed.
Alright, so we don't got to, but we could come in and do some volunteer hours if we want to, right?
Yeah, if you want to volunteer.
Hey, what the fuck? No, I ain't say that shit.
The fuck are they talking? If they want to volunteer.
What you need to do is volunteer to shut the fuck up.
Oh God, let us goofy ass know, Diane.
So like I said, it's a holiday Monday, and we is off.
Unless you want to volunteer, right?
That's not what the fuck
How the fuck are your ears long, but you hear wrong?
Oh shit, boy! Look, if they want to volunteer their own time, let them.
I'm not flying up here in the morning to unlock the fucking Hall of Justice just so they dumbass can come and volunteer.
And they are fucking interns. All of their time is volunteer.
Actually, correction, his time is volunteered. I get paid.
Hold on, how the fuck you getting paid and I don't? Fine, I'll do it. I'll come in and lock it. Let me hold your keys.
No, you ain't holding my fucking keys.
What do you mean? Why?
You don't have any fucking pockets.
And what does that have to do with goddamn anything?
You're not putting my keys in your drawers.
What? What are you talking about? I don't put things in my drawers. Yes, you do. And that's why we won't let you borrow shit anymore. Because we're tired of our items being returned. Smelling like some sort of deep space ass. That's some bullshit.
Hey, nigga, you ain't got no pockets?
Hold on, is that why my hairbrush was stank?
What the fuck you doing out here?
I got it back from you and brushed my hair with that. Now my hair smell like dicks from Mars. Smell like Martian dick. Shut up. You don't know what a Martian dick smells like. You don't know my fucking life? I wear my underwear on the outside of my pants so I can use them as pockets. And they don't touch my dick, my balls, or my anus.
All right, Superman, I ain't gonna hold you, big bro. And you know, you like to be a brother to me. And this might not be my place to say. But that shit sounds stupid. Get you some pockets, bro.
Shut up. You get you some pockets.
What you mean? I got pockets. They in my belt.
Don't even try my bro like that. You know we got these designer belts. How in the fuck is a belt a pocket?
The belt's got pockets, bro. These designers.
Man, that broke no pocket having ass.
Well, why don't you change your name to Beltman?
What?
You obviously have more belt powers than bat powers. Change your name to Beltman. It's more
fuck you. I'll change it after you change your name to Stank Dick Draws Man.
I'll change it. Stank Dick Draws Man. Got the S on my chest already. Your name's Beltman now.
I ain't agreed to that shit now.
You agreed. Your name's Beltman now. You're Beltman.
Saying that I have a merchandise deal pending. You avoid the